Tony was shocked to discover a strange percentage appeared above his mother-in-law's head, and whenever he showed any concern for her, the number would rapidly double. This made Tony wonder if this was her way of showing her liking for him, but when he returned to the room, he saw that his wife's number was 0. However, her behavior was nothing like someone who didn't love him. As Tony was pondering the meaning of this number, he suddenly heard an intense argument from next door. When he went downstairs to check, he bumped into his mother-in-law who was about to leave. Tony was shocked to see her number had risen dramatically, so he made up an excuse about having insomnia and offered to take her for a walk. His mother-in-law hesitated for a moment, but eventually agreed to his suggestion. Her number went up again. After stepping outside, his mother-in-law started talking about the struggles of her marriage. It turned out she and her husband had been in a business marriage, and their feelings had long faded. Tony patiently comforted her. Then she shifted the topic, no longer mentioning her marriage, but instead admiring how thoughtful her daughter's husband was. She sighed about her fate, having never met a man who truly loved her. As the conversation continued, her number reached 50%. Just then, his mother-in-law suddenly twisted her ankle. Tony rushed over to help her up. As he got closer, her number kept climbing. Tony was full of questions, wondering what this number meant. But for now, the priority was to help her up. When he helped her to her feet, her number skyrocketed to 80%. This made Tony curious about what would happen when it reached 100%. Just then, his wife suddenly appeared. Tony had to set aside his questions for the moment. The next day, to uncover the secret behind this number, Tony woke up early because he knew his mother-in-law always made breakfast. Seeing her struggling to walk, he immediately put on an apron and began preparing the ingredients. His mother-in-law was touched by this, and her percentage went up again. She hadn't expected that the first man to show her such care in her life would be her son-in-law, not her husband. After breakfast, his wife hurried off to work, and his father-in-law went fishing as usual. At this point, his mother-in-law asked Tony if he could help her apply medicine. Tony immediately understood this was an opportunity. As he helped her with the medicine, her number rapidly soared. Within 2 minutes it reached 99%. Tony thought he would finally figure out the meaning of the number, but just then, his wife called, asking him to drive her to work. Tony had to pause his plans again. That evening, when they returned home, they found his mother-in-law had dressed up carefully and was about to leave, saying she would stay at a friend's house for the night. She turned to face her husband, and they stood there in silence. Clearly, their conflict was still unresolved, but her number was rising quickly. Tony realized his mother-in-law might be hiding something, so he made an excuse to grab something from the car and secretly followed her. He saw her holding hands with a man in a suit, and her number shot up to 95%. Tony followed them to a 5-star hotel. They checked into the presidential suite and entered the elevator. Tony sneakily followed them, thinking about what they might be doing. He quickly called his mother-in-law, warning her to be careful. However, she hurriedly found an excuse to hang up on him. Tony's intuition told him she was definitely doing something off track. To protect the family, Tony decided to barge in and find out the truth.